Hello, hello, and welcome to the village. Happy Thursday. Welcome, guys. Listen, I want to know, is your school's culture toxic because of your leadership? Yep, I asked the question. I'll ask it again. Is your school's culture toxic because of your leadership? Well, we're going to talk about it today, because I have two awesome guests with me, and we're going to talk about school culture. Welcome to the village. I am Dr. Roz Gaskins, CEO and founder of the Village Leadership Group, LLC. Welcome, guys. Listen, I have two amazing educators with us today to talk about school culture. You want to grab your pen and your pad. You know, that's what I always say, because I want you to hear what our guests have to say today. Listen, Principal Taylor and Dr. Houston are two amazing entrepreneurs, authors, and school leaders, and they're going to tell us about what school culture, because it's based on your leadership. And I'm not talking just to the administrators. No. We're talking to the teachers too. Right?
That's right.
So welcome to the village. Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Roz.
So listen, people want to talk about school culture, and I know what you're saying. Well, it's all based on the principal.
No.
That's what we want to say, but that's not the case. So, Principal Taylor and Dr. Houston, can one of y'all define school culture for us? Let's just start with the definition. Like, what is it?
I'm going to defer to Tammy, since that was her chapter and her title for her summit presentation. She did a fabulous job explaining that.
Thank you, Sheka, very much. But I don't mind, because culture is something that I am doing a lot of work with. And it is something that I've done a lot of research on. So if we were going to define culture in layman's terms, it would simply be the way we do things around here. It's just the way we conduct business.
Awesome. And so listen, we want to always blame, if anything goes wrong in the school, if there's anything negative, we want to start from the top and say that it's the principal's fault. But we have to share the responsibility, because again, school culture is, like you said, the way we do things. So that's what we're going to talk about, guys. Based on our leadership as teachers and administrators, we need to really be reflective, look in the mirror and say, is my school's culture toxic because of me, because of my leadership? And what can we do to turn our culture around? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about, guys. So again, grab your pen and paper, okay? So listen, Principal Taylor, and you talked about school culture. I actually watched one of your presentations, and I was taking notes for real. And I was in the amen corner, because I've been in buildings in schools where, oh my goodness, when you talk about toxic, I'm talking people not talking to one another, people hating to come to work because it's just so toxic, and people just not getting along. And guess who suffers? The students.
That's right.
The students. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we got to talk about is who's responsible and how do we turn it around. So I want to know, Principal Taylor, like, what is a toxic culture? What are the characteristics of a toxic culture?
I'm sorry, would you repeat your question, Dr. Roz?
I'm sorry. I was wondering, like, what are some of the characteristics of a toxic culture? When you talk about, when people say, oh, the school culture is toxic, what does that look like? What are some of the characteristics?
Yeah. So in a school where you see that, and it's very obvious that there's no clear vision, no purpose or rhyme or reason for the way that things get done in the school. In a toxic culture, you see teachers who are publicly humiliating kids. They don't mind disrespecting the children, And in return, you see children who disrespect the adults in the building because the culture that has been created there is so toxic that respect is not one of those pillars that is built upon the way that things are done. In a toxic culture, you see where kids are blamed for their lack of success instead of trying to figure out what it is we can do to meet their needs. And the norm is inaction. There isn't a whole lot of proactivity in that climate. It's the reaction to something usually that negative has happened. And honestly, in the thing that is most pervasive in a toxic culture is that sense of drama. There's always something going on that is unrelated to the data that the school needs to be paying attention to. It's unrelated to student achievement. And because of that drama and chaos and that sense of disruption that's happening, there is no ability to focus on what really is important, the thing that matters the most. And you said that before, that's making sure that the children are learning and teachers are teaching. So those are some of the characteristics of a toxic culture, but there are so many more, because those characteristics, and you said you heard a presentation. In that presentation, I talk a little bit about why that happens, because those things that create that chaos and drama sometimes come from the toxins that have attached themselves to the people who are coming into work. There is a lack of respect for varying cultures. So you have racism, you have classism, you have deep-seated distrust, and all those things make for toxicity. And that's what you get in that type of environment.
Wow. Thank you. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been in schools that, had a toxic culture, and it has such great impact on students, but also on teachers wanting to even go to work. And unfortunately, I've worked with colleagues who decided to change careers because of their experience in a toxic building. And because, they just felt as though there was no other way, to get out of it other than to leave the profession. And these are great teachers. So also we have to make sure that we, build a sense of camaraderie, have a collaborative culture so that teachers feel supported, students feel safe, parents feel like they have a voice as well, so that you can have that school culture where everyone wants to be a part of that school community. Right. So talk to me a little bit about that, Dr. Houston, about the way we want our schools to be, that collaborative culture, that warm and inviting environment.
Well, today it's ironic that we're here talking about this. I had a parent come into the office, and it was really, truly a blessing to hear her. She was bringing Easter baskets to the staff, the office staff. She brought us some gifts. And I said, oh, this was so nice of you. You didn't have to do this. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And she said, no, I really did have to do this, because when school started, her son was virtual, but he wanted to come back to school. And she said that he had not had good experiences up until this year. And she asked him, well, what do you like so much about school now? And he said, well, the teachers really helped me. I just feel like they're helping me. I feel like they like me. So I really he just loves school. And she was actually in tears. So, what you want is that you want your children to feel as if, number one, the teachers see them, that they're being helped, that they're leaving better off than when they came. So it was really a blessing to hear, and for me to go back and to report to the teachers, guys, you all are knocking it out the park. You all are making the difference that you come here to make every day. She talked about how friendly the office staff is. Anytime she calls, and she calls multiple times, she admitted, But she said, they never respond as if, oh, we're tired of her, or, it's you again. She said they're just always so pleasant. And she said, you really just don't know how much of a difference this makes to me, for me to feel so good about my son wanting to come here. This is great. What you all are doing is great. So that just really blessed me today. I was able to bless my staff with, that good report. But that's what you want. You want what you're doing to be noticed, not only, by people in the community, by the teachers, the parents, the students. You want everything to be working cohesively for what you're there to do.
Awesome. And congratulations to you and your staff and your school community.
Yes,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Look,
I just want to add, Dr. Ross, if you don't mind, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure when you think about the toxicity that can exist, and Sheka kind of mentioned this, because when you're able to present to the public, to the community, to parents, to whomever is looking from the outside in, that there's a team that is working together, and that piece we stress, that is collaboration. And that honestly is why we built a collaboration framework, because if you have that team spirit within your building and the camaraderie that you mentioned before, Dr. Oz, that really does exude itself out into the community, so that others can see that we have the best interests of our kids at heart and in mind. And because we do have that as our center, we are able to function at a high level, and we're able to get kids what they need, just because we know what our roles are. And everybody doesn't have the same role on the team, but we know that I have to pull my weight in order for you to do what you need to do. And if we're all doing that, then that appreciation that I have for what you do and the appreciation you have for what I do adds to the climate that we create in the building, so that we can have a culture that's healthy and trusting and supportive, because that is what we want.
Exactly.
And if I could add one more thing to what Tammy is saying, Dr. Roz, we're talking about what this is and what it's not. And I don't want people to think that not having a toxic culture, or that your culture is going well, doesn't mean that every day is going to be sunny and rosy.
Right.
You're going to have some bad days. Yesterday, I called Tammy and told her I'm ready to throw the towel in, honey. The super moon that happened at the beginning of the week has just really, my kids are going bonkers. But then, the day was followed up with this parent who had this great report. So, everything is not going to be sunny and rosy, just like life. You're going to have some good days and you're going to have some bad days. But when you have that good culture within your school, you're able to get through those bad days together, even when it's not going well and when it's all not sunny and rosy.
Awesome. And see, God knows what you need when you need it. She needed today to be the day that celebrates her. So that was exactly what she got. But I say again, and I think that Sheka is spot on, Dr. Oz, a collaborative culture, which is the kind of culture that we all are striving for, doesn't mean a perfect culture. It means that we're collaborating and we're keeping our kids in mind when we're making decisions, and we're working together to make this thing happen. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. No, and every day is not going to be the day that you get the Easter baskets. You're not going to get that.
That's true.
Awesome. And one of the things too that you guys talked about, I love when you talk about, the team. Having that team is so important, and having those collaborative structures in place. So as a school leader or as a teacher leader, like, what structures do we need to have in place to make sure that we do build a collaborative culture? For instance, just to give you an example, just having a structure in place where teachers are allowed to give feedback and have input, where parents are sitting on committees, where students are sitting on a committee and giving feedback as well. So what other structures do we need to have in place so that we can build this collaborative culture?
I think, that is one thing that starts from the top. You have to lay the groundwork for that as the principal. You have to let your teachers know that you value their opinions by asking them and including them on committees where they can voice their opinions. My leadership team is comprised of, the lead teachers, our team leaders. I have some phenomenal teacher leaders who I always go to them, what are you all's thoughts about this? I'm probably texting them, invading their space when after hours, what do you think about this? Because I do value them. They are the experts. I have teachers who are very intentional. One of them, I saw his comment, Mr. Burgess, very intentional about getting that feedback from the students. Guys, how was this lesson? How can I improve it? It has to be that entire process where we all value each other. And like Tammy said, that respect is there for one another. Because when you have that, the groundwork is laid.
Awesome. And one of the things too, we want to make sure that we're being intentional about being collaborative. Like you have to plan for it. You have to make sure that you are strategic about setting those things in place. Making sure that teachers are working on committees and making sure they have collaborative times to meet during the day or after school. And also, being reflective as a leader. And I want to talk a little bit about the teacher leaders as well. We have so many teachers in positions where they have a lot of impact on our schools. So we don't want to leave them out as well, because our teachers, we want to make sure that they're also being reflective, that they're being intentional about creating this collaborative culture as well. So talk a little bit about how teachers play a huge role on creating this collaborative culture.
So I can just share with you, and this is very interrelated to what Sheka was sharing a moment ago. When you have the type culture in your school where you have a level of trust and respect that exists within, and I'm not just talking about with my instructional leadership team. I too, like Sheka, have a team of leaders who are my leadership team. And then I have an instructional leadership team because we are working our way out of school improvement. So we have various teams in place for a sundry of reasons. But even teachers who don't represent on one of those teams can come to me, and they are comfortable coming to me with any idea that they might have about what they think would make the school better. They share those things in their committees, of course, but they don't mind coming to me with questions, or they don't mind coming and saying, Ms. Taylor, did you think about this? Or I know that you told us that we were going to finish the semester with a plan for our next semester, but would you mind if we broke it down into quarters? Can we do it by quarter just in case we have to change things? They don't mind asking me questions about something that I have put in place as an expectation. And they don't mind if it's something that they might disagree with me on that is going to have to happen because I think it's the right thing to do for the school, but they don't have a problem expressing to me what their thoughts are. And I think when you create that type of space, teachers don't hesitate to step up and walk into leadership opportunities, whether it's a title or if it's a quiet way of leading as a teacher. They don't mind being a part of the solution. And that's what they say. That's a part of what we do at our school. You need to be a part of the solution. We are solution oriented. So whenever there is an issue or whatever, I don't have a problem. You can come to me with anything that we need to talk about.
I love
But
it.
at the end of this, you need to be sharing with me now, what are we going to do about it? Because that's the way we have to have our forward movement. Because if not, you get stuck in that, well, woe is me, or that whole mentality of doom and gloom. And that's just not healthy in a culture where you're trying to breed excellence and your goal is success. And I'll give you an example. One of my teachers, and she's a first year teacher, came to the office and sat down, and she said, Miss Taylor, I know this is very petty. And I guess this just makes me a petty person. But I just have to ask. And so she went for it. Her question was, I noticed that you put all three of the other first year teachers on a team for training, and I wasn't included. Was
Oh,
there a reason that I was left off? And I said, there is a reason that you were left off. And so we talked it through. You were left off because you asked me not to put you on any more committees till you finish your degree. And she said, oh, I did say that. My point here is she didn't mind coming to me, as petty as she thought that was, because she knew that that was a way that I can be approached. And I think that that has become the norm because they don't fear me retaliating or
love it.
holding something against them. And that's what I say when you encourage your teachers who are stepping into leadership roles, whether they are aspiring administrators or if they are just going to be strong, solid lead teachers in their buildings. I say that that is a great place to start. She could talk about top down. Be there to support the work that the administrator in your building is trying to do. Be a listening ear for the administration and be a voice for the teachers so that that
Awesome.
communication is always open so that good things can happen.
Yes, yes. You said so much right there. I'm about to start saying amen again.
And Dr. Raj, she said that her school is trying to move out of school improvement, but the first year that they were in school improvement, their report card grade went up to good in 1 year. South Carolina
Wow.
hadn't caught up to the plate about getting us off the list, but she's definitely off.
Congratulations, Principal Taylor.
Well, thank you. And I
And we
say
know
she
it's because of
is
your
right.
leadership. Definitely.
She's done the same exact thing. And the leadership is important. I agree. I think that you're right, but I think that having the right people to be on that team to make sure that you're moving the school in the direction that you want it to go in is very crucial. So it is very important to have teachers who don't mind stepping into leadership roles because you need that. And
Yes.
you need all hands on deck to really truly impact the school and make the students the focus of what you're doing.
Awesome, awesome. So I want to move into a little bit about your story because you guys have success, and I know it didn't happen like that. So I want to hear a little bit about your leadership journey. I tell people all the time, leadership is a journey. You don't just arrive and say, "Oops, I made it." You're continuously learning and growing and learning, what not to do. So tell us a little bit about your leadership journey. How did you get here? You got, your entrepreneurs now, authors. Let's go all the way back to when you were teachers and teacher leaders. Just tell us a little bit.
Well, I came to the teaching profession through the alternative route. I went through a PACE program. I was actually a realtor and in the mortgage industry. But after I conducted a workshop for my sorority, it was just something that really gave me a lot more fulfillment than what I was doing. So I decided to become a teacher. My background was business, so I was teaching the business education classes. And one of my assistant principals, she said, "You really are over a lot of committees." She was putting me over things. Her and the principal, we see a lot of leadership capabilities in you. Why don't you become an assistant principal? And I said, no, I'm really fine where I am. I like the children and the adult part. You all can have that. I'm fine where I am. So she sent me to a leadership training for teachers at the State Department. And it was there that, one of the people talked about when you see things that can be improved and you're not doing anything about it and you're just talking about it, then you're a part of the problem. So that's when I decided, maybe I will, look into going into leadership. And I did. I completed my internship there, became an assistant principal there, and 8 years later, I became the principal at the school. But you're right, it is a journey. I've had, lots of teachers turn over at the school once I became principal, but now I think we definitely have the right team in place because my teachers are phenomenal. I will put them up against anybody. And I tell them all the time, sometimes I'm intense about things because I do talk $1 million worth of trash about what my teachers can do and what I know they can do and what they're doing because I just really think that they're that awesome. And they do a phenomenal job with our students. I know Tammy's biased about her school too, but my teachers work really hard to grow our students, and I know that they have their best interest at heart.
Awesome. Principal
And
Taylor?
see, I think it's enough love for everybody. She has great teachers. I think I have the greatest teachers. So I do not try to rain on Sheka's shine and her parade when she talks about her teachers because I think they are great teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because she's a great cultivator. But I can never say enough about the kind of staff that I have because I sometimes am in awe myself of why I am so fortunate to have such a strong, powerful group of people who are a team to move that school forward, which is what it needed. And I believe that it's divinely appointed. The people who need to be there are the people who are there. And like Sheka, I did not start my career out as going to be a teacher. I was working in corporate banking and was completely happy with what I was doing, and ended up taking a course at my university with a friend who introduced me to Education 180 and have been on this journey ever since because it was just um, as she could kind of alluded to, I think what was meant to be. And so I've had a lot of different positions, done lots of different things. I taught fourth grade and first grade respectively, and have served in a number of curriculum positions and ended up in the principalship. And what I can say, Dr. Roz, about that principal space and the journey to getting there, and this is something I was just so tickled that you said that because Sheka and I have a book coming out where we've outlined this journey. It literally is our story about this difficult time that we were experiencing in the principalship. But what I can say is this: finding, and Sheka and I have been friends for a long time, but finding that space for us to be trustmates that's a phrase that we've just coined as how this happened so that we could get each other through some pretty perilous times has really paid off dividends for us because just knowing that you're stronger together and that you don't have to do this by yourself is so rewarding. So even though the book is our story about a year in the principalship, that story can be the same story in the life of a first year teacher, a third year teacher, a fifth year teacher, a department chair, because at some point we all feel like we're on this island and we don't really have anywhere to go, that you won't be judged by having a question that you really just don't know the answer to. So finding that space to be able to support her, for her to be able to support me, really changed the trajectory for us of the way that things were going. And when she talked about the not being a part of the problem, but being solution minded, we decided like we have to be this change that we want to see. If we
Awesome.
aren't the change that we want to see, then we're adding to the problem. We
Right.
can't keep talking about what's wrong and not do something about it.
Awesome.
The title
Go
of the
ahead.
book is It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the Top, The Power of Collaboration and Leadership.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So final words, Principal Taylor and Dr. Houston, for our educators and for our teachers, just some words of wisdom about developing that type of culture that we want.
I always start, I actually end the year with what I call my vision meeting. And I think, are we still on?
I think you are. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the vision meeting, and basically I include all of my staff in that vision meeting. So everyone has input into what the vision is going to be, what went well, we kind of work through what went well, what didn't go well, what's our solutions. Those are things we come up with together. So it is not just my vision, but it is truly our vision. And I think it's very important to make sure that all of your teachers are part of that process, that they have a voice. And when you do that work together, now when you're, laying that information down and talking to your students, everyone is on the same page, everyone is on one accord, and the messaging is not disjointed, and you're able to fulfill that vision together as we call ourselves a family at CMS. So,
and I think that is so creative, because that is probably very fitting, in my opinion, because you guys so act like a family. And I think the same thing's true at our school. I think it's a very family-oriented environment, and that adds to that culture of being in a healthy space, I think. And I guess if I were going to offer some last words, Dr. Roz, I would say, as a leader, and this can be any type leader, but as a leader, you have to be okay with yourself enough to be willing to relinquish some of the control that you feel like you have to have in order for things to just be perfect. Because that was an issue for me when I first started. I wanted things to be just so, because that's just how I am. This is how I want it, and this is what has to happen. So I'll just do it. I'll do it because I know how I want it. I'll do it. But when I learned how to relinquish control and to recognize that there were people there to help me get the work done, and for me to be able to transfer some of that responsibility, empower other people to potentially create opportunities for them to learn and to grow and to develop as leaders and be their best selves, then I feel like if we can wrap our minds around that, then we will create better spaces in our schools.
Awesome. Awesome. Dr. Houston, were you going to say something?
Yes, and also our business that we have is Create and Educate LLC. We provide literary or literacy events based around books that we're working with authors. We work with authors who provide culturally relevant literacy for children, because literacy is one of the things that we are very big proponents of. It's something that helped change the trajectory for our students at our schools. It helped us to improve. So visit our website. You can get some more information about that. You can also purchase our book, The Women Who Lead Anthology, where both of us are contributing authors. And by purchasing the book from the website, you will also get the free professional development that goes along with each of the chapters. And there were some phenomenal chapters and presentations. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about all the other ladies who presented. They were truly awesome. I mean, wealth of
They
information.
were awesome.
And shout out to Principal Hurt and Principal Howard I saw on here. They are definitely great principals that we also collaborate with as well.
So you guys heard it. Collaboration is key. Collaboration is key. So that's why you guys are here, because if you want to be a great leader, you need to learn from the best. So that's why I invited you guys here, because I wanted to learn from the best, and you guys are doing amazing work. So I salute you guys.
Thank you.
Your schools are better because of your leadership and because of your staff doing what they have to do for the students. And I love it. So congratulations to you. And thank you again for joining the village.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, you keep up the great work too, Dr. Ross. What you have been doing is phenomenal, bringing great conversations around leadership and helping aspiring leaders and current leaders. So kudos to you as well. And thank you for
thank you.
Absolutely. And happy anniversary. We're excited for you.
Thank you so much. Now, y'all stay right there, Dr. Houston and Principal Taylor. I want to chat with you guys. Thank you so much for joining the village. Guys, listen, don't worry. They have joined the village, so we're going to see them again, because the Village Leadership Group is about bringing people together. You heard from our guest today. It's all about collaboration, and that's what the village is all about. We have a twofold mission. Number one, we want to make sure that great leaders come together to learn and to grow. We want to provide opportunities for you to meet great leaders so that you can take notes and learn from them, okay? Iron sharpens iron, and we want to collaborate and network and learn from one another. And then secondly, we want to make sure that our teacher leaders give the correct training and coaching support so that they can be the greatest teachers and the best leaders in the building, okay? So again, join the village. What are you waiting for? Okay, join the village. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Village LG. Again, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Village LG. Be sure to share our videos, share with other great leaders and educators so that we can build this professional learning communities of teachers and educators, okay? We are committed to education, leadership, service, collaboration, and community. And remember, teacher leadership is a mindset, not a position. See you next week, guys. Be blessed.